Hey, everybody. Hey, there we are. Hi, friends. Lebo, Melinda, Ken, Christine, James, Melvin. Hi, Allison, Donna, Sharon, Tina, Mike. Hey, Mike. Shauna, Jenny, Alyssa. Oh, my goodness. I love you all so much. Oh, we just gotta all hang out. Oh. There's Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Good. I'm going to give people just a couple minutes to hop on. We can just say hi. Who wants to just come off mute and say hi to your buddies?
Hi, everyone.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hi, y'all.
Hi.
Hello
Hi.
everyone.
Well, I'd say at least either 100% or 99% of the people on this call are all ACE coaches. So those of you who don't know each other yet know that you're with your people. And I think I would probably know all of you because that's my job. Oh, Lindo, how are you? There's Lindo, there's Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Sophia. It's Alyssa. Hey. Rachel, is our sweet kitty cat going to make an appearance during this call? Great. So, uh, Donna, are you in Hawaii? Is that a thing? No. Got it.
I don't think we're supposed to be traveling right now.
Yeah, well, I didn't know. Maybe, I always think of the people who were on a trip when this started, and it's like, well, my vacation was going to be a week, and now it's many months. So,
Hi Afi, the cat.
oh, there's Aussie. Oh, hey. Perfect. So this is our crew to get started with. So let me just pull up our slides and we're going to rock and roll, team. Like we always do. So here's a webinar title I never ever thought I'd be using. Many things in this webinar are things I never predicted. And I think that's the case for all of us right now. Enrolling clients during turbulent times. I almost wanted to call it enrolling clients during a pandemic, but I just thought that might be a little too over the top for a title. But that's really where we find ourselves, right? And let's just settle in, get comfy, set aside any distractions, and I would say let's pretend we've known each other for a long time, but many of us know each other. So let's just settle in with our buddies here and enjoy this time. So I want to get really clear on what we're up to in today's webinar. So the purpose right now is for you to learn the 5 pillars for finding, enrolling clients you love to work with, even during a pandemic. Even during a pandemic. And this is also an introduction to the 6-month program that many of you know that I lead called the Enrollment Bootcamp. And we're just going to spend a few minutes at the end of the call talking about that very briefly. This isn't, a sales webinar. This is an intro webinar to that course, but it's really designed to give you as much value as possible, even if this is the only thing we do together. So here's what our time together is going to look like. I want to pull out some of the principles of what enrollment looks like in a time of great upheaval like this. And then I want to go over some of the principles of enrollment. And as I'm going, I want to highlight how they apply in this moment. So as we go, you'll see the principles don't change, right? The principles of how we enroll don't magically become entirely different principles, but there is some really important things I think we can look at about how to apply them in this time. And then we'll have about 10 minutes for introducing the enrollment bootcamp near the end, and about 10 minutes for Q&A, where you can just bring anything you want to bring. So gather your questions as we go. Donna says, pandemic, it's just a fact. No thoughts or opinions. It's true. So this webinar is for two groups of people, and I know there are two groups of people on this call and who will be watching the replay. One is for coaches who want to build their business over the next 6 or 12 months. What I mean by that is if you've got a handful of clients and you're really looking to get up to that first marker of sustainable income over the next 6 or 12 months, this webinar is really built for you. And then also for coaches who already have an established business, this webinar is going to be a good review of some of the foundational principles that you already know and have used to build your business, but you're going to be learning a lot of, we're going to be highlighting a lot of different approaches you can use right now for the times we're in. So turn on your video if you can, use the chat, just ask questions as we go. You all know about keeping yourself on mute, and take notes if that's helpful for you. You will be getting the slides and some other materials in the follow-up email. So let's just start with some introductions in chat. So please, in the chat, share your name, where you're located, and just what brings you to this call at this time. Your name, where are you joining from, and what brings you here right now. Thanks for the Zoom hack, Tina. That's a good one. So I'm going to read a few of these as they come in. So Celissa is calling in from Long Beach, and will be on disability for the next few months. And so this is a good time to focus on getting clients. Yes. Ken is in Carlsbad. Mike and Donna from Georgia. Yep. And Mike and Donna have had about many of their clients pause over the last 3 months. Yep. Christine is here from Montana and wants to learn anything I have to share. You're so generous, Christine. Oh, Jonathan, you're here. Welcome. So I'm just going to call out some of the places we're calling in from. We've got Alyssa from Western Mass, Libo in China, Logan in Sacramento, Tina's near Sacramento, Melvin in South Carolina, Allison in San Francisco. Oh, Jim. Hey, Jim. Jim in Sacramento, Lindo from Sydney, Australia, and so on and so on. So what a great group. Just reading some of what you all wrote. Yeah, Tina, I want to highlight what you said, feeling some discomfort in asking people to pay for coaching during this time, right? I know I can see everyone nodding with you. That's going to be one of the main topics we're going to cover today. So I'm glad you brought that up. So you all know me, PCC coach, the enrollment wizard around these parts. And as many of you know, I recently, just on a personal note, just absolutely love playing piano. And you can see I've been putting up some more videos lately on my Facebook profile if you want to add me on there if we're not friends already. So I have been leading enrollment trainings and developing this enrollment method for 7 years now. And I've been leading the enrollment bootcamp for, this will be the 5th year. So been around the block with this stuff for a while now and really honing and refining an approach. And feels like a particularly poignant moment to draw out, to take everything I've learned over these last many years around enrollment and marketing and coaching and ask myself the question, how can we apply this right now with the times we're in? What makes sense? So I've had a lot of, it's been a very creative act for me to get this webinar ready for you all to think about that question. So the truth is I had an entirely different webinar planned than the webinar that you're getting. The webinar I had planned was the normal webinar, right? There was for all of us, right? There was the normal, this was how my business was gonna look. This was how what my plans were, what my goals were. And then here we find ourselves in a time of great change, great uncertainty. And I've remade this webinar pretty much from the ground up because it's what the times called for. And I'm saying that primarily because it's, I think, a principle that we can all look to right now, that whatever we might have thought this time was going to look like, suddenly things change. And we're all very familiar with unpredictability. Things change and things change unpredictably, right? And here we are. And this time is calling on us to be very responsive, calling on many things about us for us to offer to the world, but one is to be very responsive. So we're going to be talking about that as a principle as we go. Why I'm doing this is over the years, one of the things I see over and over and over again is coaches that are really well trained and masterful and don't have very many clients. And how difficult it is for everyone when there's coaches who have the capacity to be making a great contribution and a great difference and transformation in the lives of their clients, but they only have a handful of clients. So they're not making the contribution they really want to be making. And that breaks my heart. It truly does. So that's part of it. And then even more so than ever, people need us as coaches. There's a lot of things the world needs right now in terms of service and support. And it's just so clear to me every time I look and ask myself the question, what's the greatest contribution I could be making right now? My answer is consistently, well, serving people with the skills I have as a coach that I've spent all these years developing and refining, because so many people need that kind of support right now. Another aspect of this, why I do this, and why I'm offering this webinar and this program, is enrollment is where you begin to make a difference in someone's life. If there isn't an enrollment moment where where you as the coach have the skill to invite someone to say yes, the rest of the journey doesn't take place. Now, I know that might seem kind of obvious, right? Like, well, of course, they have to say yes, otherwise they don't get to go on the rest of the journey. But for me, that's like almost the most important moment, because it's almost like I can see a fork in the road for that person where they either didn't say yes to working with me and getting support on their goals and dreams, or they did say yes to working with me and getting support on their goals and dreams. So my capacity to support them to see if we're a fit can make all the difference in which path they choose. And related to that, I don't take it for granted that they're definitely going to go for their dreams no matter what. I mean, I do. I have full faith that they're going to go for their dreams. It's not like they're not capable of going for their dreams, but it's also not a given that they're definitely going to do it, and they're going to do it on a timeline that they're really proud of, and that they're going to do it with the kind of ease that they're proud of. So it's like enrollment is kind of right up there, just as important as coaching when it comes to transformation. And the final reason why I do this is I don't see a lot of trainers out there, marketing, enrollment, trainers and coaches, talking about where to get started. I see a lot of trainers out there leading programs that's about how do you develop your entire marketing funnel, how do you refine your ideal client, or how do you do some specific part of the puzzle, like how do you do LinkedIn, or how do you do Facebook ads, or this, or webinars, or whatever. But I don't see a lot of trainers out there talking about how do you go from a handful of clients up to that sustainable income point. And so I'm doing it. I'm going to actually just skip over this part because I think there's a more relevant part for us to look at. So what I want to do is set the stage. I've been following a lot of marketing and business coaches and listening to what they have to say about this time, and looking for myself at what what's needed right now when it comes to marketing? And Tina, I think you put it well. There's this desire to just give it all away right now. Like, shouldn't I just make all of my services free right now? And we come up against this natural tension where there's this desire to be generous, and then there's also just the plain true fact that if I give all of my services away, I'm not going to be able to keep doing it unless I'm independently wealthy and I have no need to make money from coaching, which I don't think is the case for anyone on this call. If I'm not getting paid for it, I'm very quickly going to have to stop doing it at all. And we don't want that, because we know that people really need what you're doing. And so the question that we can look at together in this webinar is, okay, well, how do I resolve that tension? What do I do with that? That desire to be generous, and there's a real need to make money from this in order to keep doing it. So I think it's worth naming that there's so much suffering happening and so much uncertainty happening. We're experiencing it personally in our own lives, in our businesses, and we're seeing it in the world, in our communities, on the news. And as I was getting ready for this webinar, you know, one of the things that I just, you know me, you can count on me to always just be very transparent. To be transparent, one of the things I asked myself is, does it even make sense to do this program right now, to offer this webinar right now? Should I just wait like 3 months? And I imagine you might be asking yourself that question in your business. Should I even try and enroll clients right now? And I really looked at that question, and my answer for myself was yes. If we take a long view on what's happening right now and zoom out from the current intensity of energy, one of the things that I see when I take the long view, let's look at the next 6 months, the next 12 months, the next 2 years. If one of the questions we can ask is, well, what do I want to look back on having done right now 12 months from now? And I say that there are many, many, many of you who want to look back on right now and say, I was really of service in my profession. There's ways I want to be of service personally as well, but that I also want to be able to look back and say, wow, I was really of service professionally, because I know there were people out there who really needed some support amidst so much turbulence, so much, like, such a stormy, turbulent seas that they're on. And so if that's true for you, that you really want to look back on seeing that you were of service professionally as a coach, and you were bringing this important form of support to people, then I say that right now is the time to be building your practice, building your enrollment, so that over the months to come, the more and more people who are coming out of that initial shock of this and are beginning to ask themselves the question, okay, what's next? That you're prepared to meet them and that you're already there inviting them in, versus, oh, let me wait 6 months and then I'll start getting ready to meet them. It's like setting yourself up now. So that's why I saw, and why I imagine you're seeing, that it's still very relevant. So then the question becomes, how do I do it in a way where A, I can find people who can pay me, and B, that I invite them in an authentic, empowering way? And I did a survey that some of you filled out, and that was what many of you pointed to is, okay, are enough people going to be able to pay me, and how do I find them, and how do I invite them in this way that actually feels real, especially given the times that we're in? Rachel asked in the chat, am I going to be discussing adjusting your rates? Not adjusting our rates, but we are going to talk about other ways of demonstrating generosity. Although I think there definitely can be a place for adjusting your rates, and we could talk about it in the Q&A as well. So let's talk about some of the principles here. And if we could only take one slide out of this whole training as your takeaway slide, I think this is the one that might be it for many of you. So I was looking over the past few weeks of what are the core principles we want to draw on for enrolling clients in this time. And here's what I see. So the first one is that your job is to be of service as an entrepreneur. And for me, this is like to the heart of entrepreneurship as I see it. There's your needs among your audience that exist, and there's your offerings that are designed to meet the needs of your audience. It's like boiling everything that an entrepreneur does down to just the heart of the matter. There's something out there that's needed, and I'm willing to be the person who helps make it happen. So in order to meet that need, you must first understand the needs of your audience. And unlike any other time I've been teaching enrollment to people, there's this interesting fact that everyone's needs have just changed a lot. So things that used to apply in my business or my sphere might not apply in quite the same way. And there's this it's always very important to understand the needs of my audience. But even if I did understand them before, they might have really changed or be emphasized differently. New ones might be coming to the forefront and other ones might be going to the background. Another principle here, all of these principles are always the principles of running a business. None of these are brand new principles. These are just the principles that we want to really emphasize right now. So another principle is, in order to build your business, you've got to connect with people that want what you've got. And I'm highlighting this principle because one of the things I saw in your survey results that a few of you submitted was this concern about I have to work really, really hard to generate referrals or generate leads and to reach out to people. And what's worth highlighting here is that when you've designed something that matches what people need, you won't have to work hard to enroll them because you're already presenting them something that's what they've been waiting for. So that's, here we're drawing a distinction between I offer coaching, like as this generic, I sell toothbrushes or something, like it's like, this kind of generic commodity, versus coaching as a tool that you use to help solve a particular need or desire among your audience. And when you've been able to talk about what you do in such a way that it really matches the needs among your audience, like if I work with leaders and managers in nonprofits, which I do, I'm going to talk about the needs among leaders right now, among times of great uncertainty. And I'm going to talk about my coaching as how do I support a leader, or what I do is support leaders to know how to manage overwhelm. Because that's what I hear among the leaders that I'm talking to and the clients I have. They're experiencing a lot of overwhelm. So I'm going to position my coaching as really a solution to how do I manage overwhelm, or that's one way I could position it. It's not the only way. Lead with generosity. Once again, this is always a principle in business, and right now it's like the heart of the matter if you're going to run a successful business right now. And we see it happening everywhere, and I'm going to go into some specific examples of how to do it as we get into the pillars. Number 5 is experiment. So because everything's changing, once again, we always want to be experimenting as entrepreneurs. There's never going to be a one right way to find clients and one right offer to present to them and one right way to talk about what you do. And especially because everything's changing, we're going to be experimenting more than ever. And in fact, the Enrollment Bootcamp, I'm going to be experimenting. I'm going to be teaching experimentation more than ever. Because in the past, the bootcamp could look like, here's kind of a clear way to get clients, but now we're going to need to just all be experimenting as business owners, even more than ever before. And another principle is finding people who can pay. Monkey mind says, there's no one who can pay me. Nobody has any money. There's no way I should be offering paid services right now. But the truth is that there are people who can pay you. So the more interesting question that we can look at is, okay, who are they? Who can afford my services right now? And how do I reach them? That's a question that will get you a lot of mileage and get you some creative thinking. And finally, gentleness and compassion was another principle that stood out to me, which is you all are already great at this, just naturally, given who you are as coaches. And it's worth emphasizing that in all our communication right now, whether it's with a prospective client or on social media or with someone who's referring someone to one of our offers, like a free offer, so important to communicate from our heart. And I say that as distinct from communicating from pretense, which is where when we're in our heads about marketing, I'm sure you've experienced this, that you start speaking in marketing voice. Have any of you ever had this happen? Marketing voice, like, this is going to be the best program you've ever joined. And you start hyping things up. And it's so important, like, to just contribute to a tone of compassion and this gentle way of speaking right now, rather than trying to increase the noise, because our amygdalas are already so activated with everything, especially if we're reading the news, especially if we're reading more news than we want to, as so many people are. Our amygdalas are just running overtime. So there's an opportunity as a business owner to speak from a different place so that in your presence, people's amygdalas calm down. I just want to pause for a minute before we go on. Just one or two people, if you want to come off mute, please, and just any key reflections that you're getting looking at these principles.
Jeremy, the third one, connecting with the people who want what you've got.
Yep.
I'm honestly, it all boils down to, we teach sales and marketing, but it all boils down to, you've got to make contacts. You have to have two-way communication between you and other people and let them know about your service and see if they're interested, right?
Yep.
You actually have to have connections. And if you reach out and don't have a connection, everything you do, every message you leave needs to be designed to create a connection.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yep. Thanks. Absolutely. Anyone else? Any reflections looking at these principles?
This is Tina. I want to concur with what Donna was saying, because I've recently been connecting with people and having others connect with me on LinkedIn. And every so often you get somebody who sends you a connection request, and when you accept it, you immediately get some sort of a pitch from them. And I got one recently from someone who identified themselves as a coach. It was not somebody that I knew. And I responded, saying, something to the effect of, I'm always disappointed when I agree to connect with someone and they immediately send me a pitch. As a coach, I'm sure you understand that coaching is a relationship business and we don't know each other yet.
Yes.
And, and then I invited her to take me off her mailing list.
Very clear. Listen, that's great feedback. Good for you for giving that feedback.
So when I am connecting with people, I will pitch people I know that I already have a relationship with.
Yes.
Or I'll put something out on LinkedIn. Like I'm marketing a book study, my Mastering Life Synergies book study.
Yep.
My first one. And so I put that out broadly, but only those who are interested are going to respond to it.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm also sending private messages to people I already know saying, hey, I thought of you and thought this might be something that would interest you. No worries if it's not your cup of tea, kind of thing.
Yep.
It's like no pressure, just wanted to make you aware this is a way I'm trying to contribute back, to others. And I've made this a very low cost option
Yep.
because I'm really interested in offering up something, but also using this as my practice.
Yes.
So that's what's in it for me.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. We're going to cover, that's one of the main things we're going to be looking at here. And what you're pointing to so many of these principles all at once: generosity, understanding their needs, gentleness and compassion. I mean, really experimenting, all of this is present in that example you gave. So I love it. Thanks.
Jeremy?
Please.
Hi. Yeah, there's tremendous need out there. And for me, I'm very new at this. So, you know, I haven't really put myself out there, but I do have one client
Yes.
and, you know, I meet with her every 2 weeks. And because of this, now she's been wanting to meet with me every week.
Yes.
And today I got a message, and she pays me well. And then today I got a message from her that because everybody is at home, you know, there's things at home. So she's got a teenage daughter, and her daughter is needing some coaching. So now tomorrow I meet with her daughter. Of course, I did the ethical thing. I spoke with her and I said, you know, it's confidential. And she totally agreed. So there is a good part also. The ones that can pay have more needs and want more coaching.
Yes. Yes. Amen. And so good that you're making yourself available for, you know, it's clear that you're really present with what's needed. You know, I appreciate what you're talking about parents and kids being home. When we're attentive to needs, one of the needs for many clients who are parents, I've heard clients say, I've heard coaches say that their clients who are parents say, oh, I don't know if I need coaching right now because I'm so busy with the kids home. And this is where being clear about their needs really comes in. That can become like a re-enrollment moment for some clients where you say, well, we thought we were going to be working on XYZ, but now that this has happened, what do you really, what would you need to get out of our work together that matches your needs now? Because it might be different, or your desires now. So that just came to mind as you were sharing your story. Thanks, Elizabeth. So let's begin looking at this through, I want to apply these principles. I want to get down to very concrete things that you all can use in your building your practice right now. So we're going to cover the 5 principles or the 5 pillars rather, of the enrollment approach that I teach. And these are the 5 principles that are also in the 6-month enrollment boot camp. And really, these are going to be tools that you can use starting today, starting tomorrow. And there's going to be very practical action steps for each one. So quick overview of the pillars, and then we'll go into them. First pillar is enrollment, seeing enrollment as service rather than selling. Pillar 2 is staying the course using support. Pillar 3 is finding the clients that you love to work with. Pillar 4 is discovering the vision that they already want to say yes to. And pillar 5 is about systems. So setting up, I like to call them the admin autopilot systems for your business. And as we go through each one of these, I've retooled this whole webinar to be about, I've emphasized entirely different aspects. And what I've tried to do is pull out the most useful parts of the 6-month boot camp and, you know, get it down. If we only have 5 minutes on each of these, what are we going to cover that's going to be of best use for you in these times? So pillar number 1, enrollment as service, not selling. And when we're doing enrollment, one of the most usual, common, ordinary things we're thinking about is a question that sounds something like, how can I get this person to sign up with me? Right? Raise your hand if you've ever had that thought while you're in an enrollment conversation, right? How do I get this person to sign up? I need a new client. I have an enrollment goal that I enroll 1 person by April 15th. And how do I get them to be this person that signs up with me? It's normal. And it's when we start getting salesy because we are focused on our agenda rather than what they need. So let's look at what it means to really focus on service in these times. So if you were selling, if that was what you were really up to, was selling, then it would be wise to listen to what your monkey mind is saying, which is, don't offer anything because nobody wants this. If what you were really up to was selling, you know, like I have it in quotes, like, you know what I mean, selling, manipulative selling, then yeah, don't go offer that right now, given what's going on in the world. If that's all what your game was. But given that your game is really about service, I mean, isn't it true, coaches, that the world needs service now more than ever? There's so many ways that the world needs to be served, needs our service. And so the question you want to answer is, well, what does my audience need right now? Or another way we could put that question is, how can I be of service right now as a coach? And I want to go straight to a very practical tool for how we can get at this. So surveys and research calls are something I want to talk about here. And this is a tool that I haven't emphasized much in the program before, but it just feels so relevant right now. One of the simplest ways that I've found to both generate leads and referrers and to help make your offers so clear is to ask people what they want. So there are two easy ways to do this. One is through sending a survey, like you can build this with SurveyMonkey or Google Forms. You can send it out to Facebook groups, you can send it out to individuals and people who are in the audience that you want to serve. So for me, I want to serve, you know, leaders doing social change work. I'm going to find all the people I know and ask them if they'll fill out the survey, and also ask them if they'll send the survey on to friends. And the survey boils down to two main things. What do you really want and what's challenging? What do you really want and what's challenging? What are your desires and what are your difficulties? I'm going to send you in the follow-up email a sample survey that is pretty much the format that I use whenever I do this, so that you can build your own form off of that. But it boils down to just what's difficult and what do you really want. And the other way to do it is to have conversations. These can be 15, 20, 30-minute conversations with people who are in your ideal client audience. And you can find out from them, well, what's really going on right now? What do you really need when it comes to your leadership? Where are your biggest stopping points and where are your biggest desires? And then you take all that information in and you begin to experiment with, well, how can I talk about what I offer based on the needs and desires I heard? Because then your offers will begin to sing to people. That'll be like a certain kind of tone that just your ideal client and your audience can hear. And the real part of the magic of this is you've just done a great job of building authentic relationship with people. So we're going to talk about referrals in a moment, but when we talk about referrals, it'll be so clear that these people who filled out the survey or who you had a research call with are either a great prospective client or an obvious referrer who you will have no problem talking with about if they want to refer someone to you, because you just did such a good job of understanding what they're about, and you started with service first. It won't occur as an out of the blue request once you've had a conversation with them like this. So for each of these pillars, we're going to put an action step slide in here so that there's a clear way that you can look at, how do I want to put this into practice? And I think the simplest action step here is by when are you willing to send out a very simple survey to at least 10 people, 5 people even, or by when are you willing to do your first research call? So boom, that if you want to take action on this one, this is how I recommend doing it. And Rachel asks in the chat, are there ideas to incentivize responses like a free laser coaching session? It's a good experiment, Rachel. Speaking of experimenting, you might try it. I find that people are actually really, many people are eager to fill out a survey like this if you have some kind of, if they're just in your network, even on the periphery. Because all you have to do is frame it as, you'd be doing me a great service by filling this out. I'm looking about how I can design things. Given everything that's needed right now, I'm looking at how I can be of best service. And this is a 5 or 7 minute survey. Could you fill it out? People are generally excited because they see that they're contributing to you. So as I said, I'll send you a sample survey in the follow-up email. And you can base your survey on that if you decide you want to develop one. And the research call basically follows a similar set of questions that the survey would. You just get a chance to ask follow-ups and get into more detail.
Jeremy, is that like the one you sent us?
For the enrollment survey, yep. So for those of you who filled out the survey I sent, that's basically what the template is going to be. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that was quite good. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. And if you have any questions as we go, I'm going to kind of just spend a few minutes on each of these pillars, and then during the Q&A, we can dig into any detailed questions about how to implement these. Pillar 2 is about support, because each of these pillars, I really hold them as pillars. Like if they're not in place, the whole building starts to fall. And so pillar 2 is, I don't know how to build a successful coaching practice without an abundance of support, lots and lots of support. So I say it's one of the key elements to building a successful practice. And there are so many different aspects that fall in this category of support systems. One is planning, like how much money do I need to be bringing in and how am I going to build up my practice over many months? Setting goals and playing for them. And the support system that I want to focus on today is productivity rituals that help you focus. Focus, focus, focus. Raise your hand if you could use some more focus right about now, given everything, right? So I don't know about you, but my brain has been a little fried lately, and it's been a little hard to focus, right? Like this sometimes. So the direction to go with this is to get more support than we think is reasonable. You know what I mean when I say this? Like there's what I think is a reasonable amount of support that my monkey mind says I couldn't possibly ask for more support than this. I would just be being a burden and I couldn't ask for more support. And to go beyond that. Yeah, Elizabeth says, I just want to watch Netflix. You and me both, Elizabeth. I just want to watch Netflix all day. Come back online when this is when everything's back to normal, as though there were going to be such a thing as normal again. There's just going to be a new normal, a new way that we are living that we have adjusted to. So getting more support than you think is reasonable is the appropriate response, one appropriate response to the amount of change that's happening. So let's look at one way to put a level of support into practice. Because as an entrepreneur and as a solo entrepreneur, as most of you are, we just have this fact of life called we need to know how to focus our time and design our days in such a way where we get to the end of the day and the end of the week and we say, yep, I put my time, I was self-directed in my time and figured out how to focus it where I wanted to focus it. So I'm going to give you one of the most effective tools I have ever found in that regard. And it's called day planning with a buddy. Day planning with a buddy. This is different than your morning coaching arena calls that I know many of you do. So here's one way this can look. Is that you have a 30-minute day planning session with a buddy to help you focus. And in doing this, here's a suggested structure. And you'll get these slides afterward, and you can follow the structure on this slide. So 30 minutes, each person has 15 minutes. And first thing you do, so let's say this is a cycle for the first person. So first person goes, they're going to celebrate what they accomplished the prior day. They're going to spend a few minutes covering, here's what I said I was going to do, and here's what I did. And then they're going to spend a few minutes sharing, this is what I'm going to do today. And it might be the top 1, 2, 3, could be up to 7 things. Probably up to 5 things would be even better. And then blocking out time for each promise that you made. So I've got an open work day. I'm going to do 5 things. This one's going to take half an hour. This one's going to take an hour. I can get these 2 done in a half an hour. And they're each on the calendar. And for me, I like to both put them on a calendar and have a paper to-do list in front of me. You all know me. I'm Mr. Technology and apps for everything. But over years of productivity systems, paper to-do lists are the only ones that actually get looked at. So for me. So I both put it in my calendar for the day so I know when I'm doing it and what I'm doing when. Yep, there you go, Donna. And then paper to-do list, so I keep moving through it. And then you switch to the other person. And then end, keep a couple minutes at the end, just share something you're grateful for is a very sweet way to end these calls. So this is a tool that it creates so much reliability, and it lets you build in a new habit and do it with support. The key to support in my eyes is that there's another human being involved in some way for each thing you want to build into your life. If you just set up support systems that are just on you, they are more likely to fall short sometimes. But when you've got another human being, you're 5 times more likely to do the things you said you were going to do because you know that you're going to be checking in on it the next day. So if this is an action step you see you're willing to do, then ask yourself, who am I willing to have be my buddy? Who will I ask to be my buddy? And by when will I ask if they're interested? Christine says, my husband and I talk about what's going on for the day each morning, which is great, especially to provide some ease in these unknown times. Yep. So, boom, pillar 3 is about finding the clients we need to work with, that we'd love to work with. Once again, as a solo entrepreneur, as a coach, you've got to find your clients. So here's some suggestions, and these are suggestions only for people who are really at that very beginning stage. And they're common pitfalls that I see. Do not go make a really big website, spend 3 weeks printing your business cards, or spend a bunch of time trying really complicated lead generation techniques like blogging, social media networking, free downloads, fussing with my ideal client profile. Those are all great, great, great things to do. They are often not the things to do right when you're getting started, because if you're just building up that skill of getting your first 5, 10, 15 clients, the reason is very simple. It's very straightforward. All of these are great things to do, but they're going to take time to produce results for the most part. Like figuring out who my ideal client profile is and making my website and putting all the language of my ideal client on my website is a good thing to do. And it's going to be a longer delay between when I do that and figure that out and invest that time to when I get a client from having done that. Rachel says, from my experience, making my website 2 years in was infinitely easier than it would have been if I tried to do it at the start of my coaching journey. Yep. Yep. Still figuring out your voice when you're just starting. So that's just quick survey. Just avoid those pitfalls. If you already have get a simple website, that's fine. If you're going to make business cards, spend 30 minutes making business cards. Tina says, my website was my LinkedIn profile for 2 to 3 years. Amen, Tina. That is the simplest way to do it. So what to do, that was what not to do, what to do. Where do I find clients? So there are so many ways to find clients. Where do I start? It's going to come as no surprise to you all that I recommend referrals from your network. but I want to highlight a certain aspect of referrals that you probably haven't heard me highlight before. And the, my monkey mind, the reason why referrals work, and you know, there's so much monkey mind that can come up around referrals, but the reason why referrals work is because there's already existing relationship and trust there. That when someone makes a connection for you between a prospective client and you, there's a bridge of trust that is already present. And that goes so far to create results versus if you had to find someone that you didn't already know or have a connection with. The question becomes, how do I do this in the times we're in? If I call up my friend and just say, hey, do you know anyone who's looking for coaching? Do you know any leaders who are in nonprofits who are da-da-da-da-da? There's almost like a kind of like a scrunchy face that person might make at you at this time that we're in. Like, what? How is, you know, there's got to be some bridge right now. And so let's look at how it applies in these times. So I say that more than ever, asking a referral, asking someone to refer their people to a free or low-cost offer is just easier for you, easier for everyone, and it's more in line with your values because you're leading with generosity. So Tina, I love that you're doing a book study. Yes. Yes. Up until now, this has never been a part of my kind of the enrollment bootcamp approach because I've always seen that it could be too much work to try and build out these offers when really you could just get started by just calling people and beginning to make referral offers. However, I've changed my thinking, especially in these times. It is so worth it to figure out how to do a simple, very simple, free or low-cost offering. Because then when you invite people to refer to you, it's very easy for them to say yes because they're like, oh, it's a $10 thing or it's a free thing. Great, happy to refer people to that. I'll post it all over the place. I'll email 10 friends. Then there's just easier for you, easier for them, and easier for the prospective client to get to know you, which in these times is pretty important. It's always important, but in these times, people are more likely to sign up with you if they've already had some initial experience with you in an easy way. And we see this happening everywhere, don't we? Free yoga classes streaming online. Every web app I open, they're saying, our 1 month trial is now a 12-month free trial. You know, like just we're giving it away. So we want to, you know, be a part of that generosity because it's a part of our values. So here are some examples of free or low-cost offerings that you might consider. These are what I've thought of. I bet other people can share some in the chat. Free book study or low-cost book study. And for those of us who are ACE coaches, there's a book study guide on the student portal for the Mastering Life's Energies book and the Energy of Money book. Another one that I've seen and I've done myself is to give free session coupons. You could do a 60-minute session or you could even do a 30-minute session. And you could give it to all your existing clients. You could give them 1 or 2 or 3 coupons to use to send on to close friends or family or colleagues. Or you could, if you want to expand this beyond just your clients, you could say, well, I'm going to pick 10 of my close friends and pass this on to them as a gift to pass on to their people. And you frame that whole thing as this is how I want to be of service. And you make a point to frame it towards your ideal client in your audience. So it's this coupon is really for leaders that you know, or this coupon is really for entrepreneurs you know, or whoever you know that you're serving. Donna says we offered 50 to 70% off our courses this month, and we have a lot of new people as a result. People need to do something to do if they're stuck at home. Amen. So you can do a simple webinar. It doesn't even have to take a lot of development, but you can teach for 60 minutes on a topic that you care about and talk and have a discussion with people on a topic that relates to what you discovered when you did your survey and your research calls. And low-cost coaching group, which I saw someone mention in the chat as well. So the way, once you've got this free or low cost offer designed, then you put it into action by inviting your community to refer people to this. So instead of referring you to coaching, which is a harder ask, it's a bigger jump, and it's sometimes less clear what the heck they would even get out of coaching. Offers like this are usually very clear because you've written up just a little bit of materials on the coaching group, on the book study, on what the coupon does, or on the webinar. You've explained the value of it very clearly, and it's really easy to send a link to people who are interested. So if you're willing to take an action out of this, which I know some of you are, because this is really one of the core things to look at right now, is pick what your free or low-cost offer is going to be. And one of the simplest ones is that takes the least amount of effort is a free coaching session coupon, because you already have that. That doesn't even take any development. It just takes a little bit of marketing language to explain what it is. And then to put it into action, who's one person you're willing to share this with and by when? So pillar 4. Y'all are doing so great. I love what everyone's sharing in the chat. Pillar 4 is about once you've found someone who's interested in working with you, how do I have a conversation with them in which they discover the vision that they already want to say yes to? So the most common worry I hear is, if I want to get more clients, I'm going to have to be pushy or convince them to want to work with me. I know none of you have ever had this thought, right? I've never had the thought, I'm going to have to be pushy, right? No one in this group has had that thought. So where to set our sights here is, what would it be like to have enrollment conversations that are transformational for that person, whether or not the person enrolls? And I know many of you have begun looking at this, and what I want to highlight in today's call is, if we were to pull out one central thread of how to have a powerful enrollment conversation and only put one piece of it in front of ourselves, what piece would we want to focus on? And I say the only way to be successful with enrollment, and I really mean this, and I've seen this over and over and over and over again. I know I've coached many of you on this. The only way to be successful in enrollment is to fall in love with the power of enrollment conversations. If enrollment conversations live for you as the worst part of your job, I hate doing this, I don't want to be on the phone with anyone, and God, I just have to force myself to do it, you aren't ever going to do it. And you're not even going to reach out for prospective clients, because you know that you're eventually going to get on the phone with them. However, if you love enrollment conversations because you see that so many breakthroughs are happening during your enrollment conversations, then you're going to really look forward to them, and you're going to do the work to generate more conversations like this. I'm going to skip over that last bullet point. So let's look at how it applies in these times. So I see, and I invite you to look for yourself. I see that people's visions are more alive than ever in these times. I mean, just picture in your mind all the change that's happening, whether that's someone's job changing, whether that's someone being unemployed, whether that's someone, their work is continuing and they have so much new work that they didn't have before, you know, because there's so much change in their workplace. You can imagine families, and so much is happening in families right now, in friendships, in people's dreams for their life. You know, if they're at home more, they have all this space to be looking at their dreams for their life, and they're starting to feel that tension of, oh, you hear this all the time, right? It's quarantine, I'm gonna finally write my book, I'm gonna finally learn that instrument, right? And yet here they are, everyone is so overloaded and stressed that most people are now just feeling even more bad than before because they think they should be getting all these things done, but they aren't getting it done and they're wondering why. So we see that many familiar circumstances are changing. And what I see, and what I imagine you might be seeing as well, is that people are becoming more clear than ever about what's really important to them. More clear than ever about what's really important to them. That so much is falling away about what wasn't important and isn't important. And what's really important, whether that's family or whether that's the difference that you're here to make in the world, or loved ones, or just caring for people, whatever that is in your life and in each person's life, is coming to the forefront. And if there were, I mean, can you think of a better time for coaches than that moment when that's alive for someone? And I think of all the people who might have been in a little bit of more asleep in their life, and this has occurred for them like a wake up. And isn't that where we as coaches meet people, is in that moment of wake up where they're saying to themselves, oh, wow, there's something I really want to do with my life. I just had a stable job for a long time. My stable job just fell out from under me or has just changed dramatically. And then doesn't that leave so many people with the question, what the hell do I do next? And what do I really want to do next versus just what should I do next? So I say these enrollment conversations are the chance to, whether or not someone signs up for you, is the chance for someone to look at, well, God, what do I really want to do next? And that's a huge gift you can give someone. I mean, that, in a certain sense, that's your free offer to someone. It's part of what you offer to people, is just the chance to look at what they really want next. So there's so many things that we can talk about, and that obviously you and I, each of you and I, have talked about in our various enrollment trainings. But if we could boil that all down to one thing, if I were to just have one piece of paper in front of me for what to keep my attention on during an enrollment conversation, I say the most central principle is putting my attention on what their vision is for their life. Shifting my attention to their vision, shifting my attention from convincing them to what is their vision. So if the way we can put that into practice is, I can ask myself the question, what does this person really want next in their life? And your job is, they already have a vision. Even if they tell you they don't, they do. They have and you know they have a vision because they're bringing to you some kind of frustration and some kind of desire. And sometimes their desire comes out in the form of frustration. Like, oh, I really am so sick of this, and I hate this, and I wish I could do this, but I can't. Well, what they're really saying is, I want something, and I don't know how to get it yet. And question number 2, you could even imagine putting these on, or you could put these on a 3x5 note card. Is what I offer a great fit to get them where they want to go? I derived these two. It's so fun for me to boil down everything I teach in a 6-month program to a 90-minute webinar, because I derived these two by looking at all the stuff that I did. And I found that I never even taught these two directly, but when I had to boil it down, these are the two that popped out for me. And now I do teach them directly. Because if all the stuff I teach boils down to these two questions, if these are the only things you focus on during an enrollment conversation, you'll be looking at what do they want and is it a fit? And you're going to have a very authentic conversation about fit versus a formulaic conversation where I'm trying to get something specific to happen. And the thing that I hear from people all the time, actually I just enrolled someone to Mastering Life's Energies today who was on the fence about whether to do the course or to do grad school. And what she ultimately said in the moment that she decided to enroll was, I just really trust you. You just seem so genuine. And I say that it's not a personality thing like Jeremy. I mean, that is me, but also it's all of you when you're focused on these questions. When you approach someone as you're genuinely looking at, is this a fit for them to get them where they want to go? You show up as genuine and authentic in a way that's very refreshing for people who are used to being sold to. So this is a tool to take your attention off your worries, and you start looking for a fit rather than a sale. And that no matter what happens in the conversation, it was already of great value to them. So the way to put this into action is to get clear on what great fit looks like. So you could pick a recent client that you loved working with and ask yourself, well, what made them a great fit? And list 3 to 5 traits that made them a great fit. So for me, it might look like, well, they were doing social change work that I admired personally. Like I actually was really bought in to the work they were doing. Another one might be, wow, they really saw that their mindset was what was getting in the way versus like their boss or some external factor. And though that client, that's what made them a great fit. It made it so easy for them to like be hungry for what we were doing together. And a third example is that they were in a leadership position that was a really leveraged position, meaning that they were a manager or an executive director, so that whatever happened with them made a big impact. And so when I worked with them, I loved that because it's so, I was so excited about each session we were having because I knew what a difference it would make. So once you're clear on those things about what a great fit looks like, it ends up being so useful during the enrollment conversation because you've got them in front of you and you can be answering this question, well, what would it be a great fit? Would our work together be a great fit for them? Elizabeth, go for it.
I guess my question is around when is it not a good fit? Because I did have, about 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with someone who wanted to work with me. She was approaching me. I had met her in a workshop. And every part of me was saying, I don't want to work with her.
Yes.
And it just, you know, I felt the energy in me and it was just kind of like, I mean, it wasn't about referring her to a therapist. It wasn't anything like that. But every question I asked her, everything was just, you know, about her. I don't know. It just felt like I couldn't do it.
Well,
but
good.
I wasn't clear why. That's
yeah.
I never knew why I didn't want to work with her, but I knew I didn't want to.
Well, you could take this exercise and see, you could ask yourself a slight tweak on this after today's webinar, or after we're done with this call. You could ask yourself, what would have needed to be different that would have had me love working with her?
Oh, I got it right away.
Oh, what is it?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I needed her to have a bigger vision for her life, not a bigger vision, to be, she was so stuck that, you know, nobody hires her, nobody wants her, this and this and that. And for me, it was just, I think I needed her to be more in the yes, more open. And I just felt like it was too much of a block, and it was like, no.
Great, good. So then just begin developing that list of, sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's a referral. Sometimes it's like they're not a fit for coaching because you want to refer them to therapy, like you're saying. Sometimes it's true. There are just sometimes where I see, wow, this just isn't a fit. I can tell I'm not gonna love working with this person, and therefore it's not of great service for me to work with them because we're not gonna have a great time.
That was for me, yeah.
Thanks for saying that.
Thank you.
So pillar 5, and we're gonna go through this one, kind of just get to the bottom line, is when I started my business, my systems were so not set up that I'd constantly worry, did this person schedule their sessions? Did they not? Are we going to get our client, are we going to have a session every 3 weeks or every 4 weeks? Or are they going to keep pushing it out? Am I going to get paid enough because they keep pushing it out? Have I billed this person? Are they ahead on their payments or behind on their payments? Did I follow up with that friend who said they'd refer me to someone? All these things that were just so annoying and so difficult and so confusing. And Allison says, I used to spend so much time on stuff like this. Me too. And as you all know, I'm a huge efficiency nerd. So I hate relying on my brain to remember things, and I hate doing repetitive tasks. And so I want to offer you a tool related to that, and I want to say why this tool is relevant, why this pillar is relevant in these times. Because I was thinking about this, and I was like, well, is admin autopilot, is that really relevant in these times? Is that still the right pillar to be emphasizing? And I see that it is, because if you have a brittle, time-intensive system, it's going to break down in times of uncertainty like this. Like, for example, if it takes me like 2 hours per week to do all my invoicing and scheduling, the chances that I'm going to drop the ball when a bunch of uncertainty happens, as it just has, goes way up. And then I'm going to stop invoicing. My clients are going to wonder where the hell my coach is, what's going on. I'm going to get worried and stressed, and then I'm not going to be able to show up. So it's like part of being a resilient business is that I've got that stuff set up in such a stable, reliable way that I can do what I actually need to be doing right now, which is serving people with my free and low cost offerings, and serving people as a coach, like one-on-one sessions or group coaching sessions. So it's still very relevant, very important. Tina, do you want to come off mute and share what you said here?
I was just saying that I once had an enrollment conversation. It was actually a referral from someone else. And during the enrollment conversation, she told me she was talking with another coach as well, and that she wanted to talk to that coach before making a decision. And she called me back later and said that she saw that the other coach was probably a better fit for her. This coach was, she called her an intuitive coach. And yeah. And so I agreed that based on some of the language she was using and things she was referring to that weren't like not in my wheelhouse.
Totally.
That, that this other coach was probably a better fit for her. But we made a really great connection, and she later referred someone else to me.
That's so
For
great.
an enrollment conversation. So I thought that was great.
Yep. Thanks. That's a great story. So because you're going to have so many conversations with prospects, prospective clients, and with referrers, it's very useful to keep track of all this information. And some of you know this tool, and some of you will be hearing about it for the first time, but this is really my secret tool for tracking, is Streak. Yay, Streak. Oh, this is throwing her hands up. So is Rachel. So it allows you to track what each stage that your prospect is in your enrollment cycle. So it's like you've contacted them, you've reached out to schedule, and you're scheduling, they've actually set up the appointment, you've had your appointment and they're considering, they've said yes, they've paid, they've signed the contract. Each of those are stages, and there are many people in each stage. And there's the same thing with referrers. They're a lead that I haven't contacted, I've contacted them, they've made a promise, they've fulfilled their promise, or each of these steps or stages. And you can just imagine you'd start pulling your hair out if you just had to remember all that, and remember who to follow up with, and remember what they've done and what they are to do next. So enrollment gets very easy when you've got this well organized. There are many ways to do this. You don't have to use Streak, but Streak is a good way if you're willing to give it a try and go through the learning curve. So it looks something like this. So you can imagine, we've got this is kind of a generic example. It's not one for coaching, but you can imagine these different stages. It's like a spreadsheet, but I've got people organized by where they're at in this flow of different steps. So this is the one I recommend you try out. And if you've tried it out, great. Go in and update it. because I know sometimes we can get out of the habit of updating it. And if you haven't tried it out, set aside 30 or 45 minutes to install it and watch a couple of the tutorials, because you will better to get it set up early, and then it's already ready to go as you begin having more and more prospects and referral conversations. So here are the pillars again: service rather than selling, building and support with another human being, finding clients, having discovery or enrollment conversations with clients, and your admin autopilot systems. Melinda says, I would love to see what stages you use in Streak. Would you be open to sharing a snapshot of your Streak pipelines? I so would, Melinda. I'm going to write it down right now, and I will include it in the follow-up email. Streak stages list. You got it. Paper to-do list. So these are the 5 pillars. And I hope you've found some of these tools that we've hit on along the way and useful. I hope you found them useful. So we've really just scratched the surface of them, and I want to just briefly cover a way to go deeper for those of you who want to go deeper. And then we're going to go on to Q&A. And you all already have so many great Q&A questions coming up in the chat. So we're just going to spend a few minutes on this. Many of you have already heard about the Enrollment Bootcamp, which is a 6-month program that I offer. And the bottom line of the bootcamp is that you have a way, a whole support system to support you to confidently enroll clients and enroll the clients that you love to work with. And do it in a way that empowers you and empowers the referrers and empowers the prospective clients. So it's 6 months. It's for you all. And it starts right at the end of this month. And it's a sliding scale, so that even no matter where you're at in your business, that there's different levels that you can enroll at that match your financial capacity right now. And this is for you if you really want to grow your full, here's the bottom line. I'm not even going to read what's on this slide. What I'm going to tell you is it takes so much to launch a coaching practice. You all who've launched your coaching practice, I'm sure you can share this in the chat. You know how much it takes to launch a coaching practice. And it's so much to do it alone. It's so hard to do it alone. It takes so much energy to do it alone. And the bottom line of the boot camp is that you can get, for a little bit of time and money invested, you can see tons of results. So you invest a little bit of time and money in putting yourself in a support structure that will hold you through that journey, through all the trouble at the border, all the stopping points, and have people who will have your back throughout all the trouble at the border, so that you don't, the way I like to think of it, it's either going to take you 12 months to start your business or 6 months to start your business. One way or the other, you're going to start your business. I believe in all of you that you're going to do it. The question is, how much energy is it going to take? And the game here with the bootcamp is to do it with less energy and not have to reinvent the wheel. So this program, if it's probably not a fit for you if you're only going to enroll a few clients over the next few months, or you're really working like a 60-hour-a-week job and you're not putting in a lot of energy into your coaching practice. Alyssa and Allison are both bootcamp grads, as they're sharing in the chat. And some of the things that I have seen people get out of it is that the systems and the nuts and bolts, beginning to end, tangible aspect of this program is where people get the most value. That it's really showing you how to do each step of the process, down to how do I have the conversation, how do I send follow-up emails, and we really practice each of the skills. So some of the things that are included is the supportive community, which I think is the most important thing. The aim here is, like I said, you're filling your coaching practice sooner rather than later, so that you're making the income you'd love. You're not reinventing the wheel. And you're supporting people to have a transformational experience with you in enrollment conversations, whether they sign up or not. So it's, we're going to be meeting every week for 6 months. So in that time, we're going to have 12 90-minute coaching calls and 12 90-minute training modules. You're going to get all my guides. You all know my guides. You've seen my guides. I have guides for everything. There are so many guides in this program. You're not going to believe it. Oh my God. It just sounded like someone pretend, take that all back. But seriously, there's a lot of guides. You're going to have a daily one-on-one support buddy, which is one of the key aspects of the program, because when you're setting actions for enrollment every single day, you end up taking so much more action than if you were just doing it on your own and trying to force yourself through trouble at the border. And I'm always available. So you can always text me, you can call me throughout the whole program. I'm on your team. So this program is about a quarter of the cost if you hired me to support you to do all this as one-on-one coaching. So it's meant to be very affordable. And as I said, there's 3 different tiers you can enroll at, from $375 up to $500 per month. And what I want to look at real quick with you all is the return on investment for this, the potential return on investment, because I think when I set these prices, I tried to make it so obvious for you that this is just like a no-brainer level pricing. So basically, this program can pay for itself with 2 new clients. If you get 2 more clients than you would have gotten if you didn't do this program, it's already paid for itself. In other words, if I'm charging $100 per session, I get 2 more clients at 2 sessions a month on a 6-month contract. That's $400 a month, which is already more than the lowest tier of the bootcamp, which is $375. So I went and ran the stats for all previous bootcamp participants and how many clients did they report enrolling during the 6 months of the program. More than, what is this? About 80% of them enrolled more than 5 clients in the time that they were in the bootcamp. So your mileage may vary. I can't promise you any specific results, but if you're willing to put in the time, this is what most people are seeing from the bootcamp. And they also saw their fee increase. So they were starting at a lower fee, and during these 6 months, they were up, almost got close to doubling that fee. And I give a money back guarantee. So if after 30 days you see that this really isn't the right fit, you can get a refund. So there's only going to be about 10 or 20 people in this group this time. And I want to talk with all of you if you're interested in this. So please, if you're considering this, reach out to me. Let's just have a chat, 30 minutes, see if this is the right thing at the right time. If it is, we can look at getting you signed up. If it isn't, I'll tell you so, or you'll tell me so. And, you know, I only want you in this program if it's the right thing that's really worth your investment. So reach out to me. We'll set up a chat. So that's the boot camp. Thanks for considering this with me, because I just love working with you all. There's a reason why mostly ACE coaches are on here is because you are the people I love working with. And we have such a good time together because we're all starting from a shared foundation. So let's have a little bit of time for Q&A. I saw some people chat some questions and I didn't catch what they were. So if you have a question, I'm going to put the 5 pillars up here again just for reference. If you have a question, please just share it in the chat right now, and I'll, if I need more detail, I'll have you come off mute and fill in the detail. But what questions do you all have about anything we covered? So Christine, what do you mean a recommendation for helping nurses right now when they're so busy and stressed? Because I know that's your audience of who you're serving as a coach,
yeah,
right?
So, yep. I feel like I'm missing a hot time because I want to provide support to my fellow nurses who are either local and not so busy just yet, or maybe in New York City where they're getting
Yes.
pretty busy.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I know that's kind of specific to me, not
No,
to
it's
the
a great
program per
question.
se.
Well, it represents what a lot of people are asking, which is many people are busy and stressed, nurses being just a blessed souls among them who really need our support right now. So this really goes back to the question about generosity. It's what could I offer for free? You know, is it a 30-minute free session? Is it a group session to some nurses at a certain time of day when I know some group of them could come? You know, where we're just having, you know, it could be a group coaching session. It could be even just a conversation with them about a couple success principles that I know are important, where we just, not even teaching necessarily, but well, let's just talk about what it looks like to calm your brain down amidst so much difficulty. And we're just going to spend 45 minutes even talking about that because maybe that's all they can carve out of their day. But, you know, it goes back to the principles we're talking about. How can I get on the phone with some nurses and find out what the needs are for people who are on the front lines?
Mm.
And then out of that, what's something free I could offer as a first step, or low cost that I could offer as a first step? And then you'll discover how to support nurses out of doing that kind of, even just 2 research calls, you might already have the answer. It doesn't even have to take a lot.
Cool, thanks.
You've got some suggestions here in chat too.
Okay, I'll check. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Christine. Who else? What other questions do you all have? Tina.
I had questions on the streak thing. I was making some other notes, so I didn't catch everything you were saying. I'm not familiar with it, and I was curious, like, how does it work with, like, I use QuickBooks, but I don't have an automated system, and I don't know whether streak would, I don't really understand what it is.
Sure, totally.
What is that?
Yeah, great. So streak is, think of it as a very fancy spreadsheet. And the purpose of the spreadsheet is to track contacts. Like it's like a sales pipeline is another term for it. So it's not like QuickBooks is for tracking payments.
Right.
This is for tracking either prospective clients is one thing it can track. Like, oh, so I know this person might be interested. I've contacted them. They've scheduled a session. There's each of these different steps that a prospective client goes through, all the way up through signing a contract with you.
Okay.
And it's a way for me to just know who are all my prospective clients and where are they at in my sales pipeline, as it were. So this is something you could do with just a normal spreadsheet. Streak is a very useful tool. It takes a little longer to learn, but ends up being very helpful once you're willing to go through that learning curve.
Okay.
Good question. Rachel asks, do you have any suggestions on striking a supportive tone? What I'm pointing to, there have been a lot of articles lately about how stressful it is for people to receive messaging about increasing their productivity during this time. It lands as a bit insensitive / disconnected. I think that there's a way to speak to the heart of the matter instead of coming across as heartless. Yes. Well, good question, Rachel. Thanks for asking. You also asked earlier, can I use myself as a stand-in for what the needs of my audience might be, right? Like, what needs do I have right now if I'm serving people who are like me? My audience is people who are like me. The answer to that is yes, and is similar to the answer to this, which is find out what people need. So we don't want to assume that what people need right now is being more productive. But once we begin having some conversations or doing even just a few surveys or even just a few Facebook posts about what people need, we'll hear from them, oh, this is what I really need. And then our messaging matches that. So it's not messaging about being productive, it's messaging about, wow, you're feeling really overwhelmed and what you're needing is some ease. Great, let me have my messaging be about that. And then it won't come across as heartless, it'll come across as very compassionate because it's matched up with what they're already telling you that they want. And here we are at the end of our time already. So thank you all for joining. I'm just so grateful for all of you. And it meant so much to me to get this webinar ready, and it means so much to see all your faces here right now, because I really got to sit with the question, what is the role of coaches in this moment? And I see you all, and I feel very grateful to get to uplift together the role of coaches in this moment and not sink into the monkey mind, oh crap, no one's going to be able to pay me. I guess I should just not focus on my practice. And that together, I feel like we really created this space where we can see, oh, this is an incredibly important time for us. And let's find that laser way to get forward motion with our coaching practice so that our service keeps reaching people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And why don't we just come off mute? If you want to come off mute and just say bye to your buddies, okay?
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Everybody.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks,
Okay.
Jeremy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.